Good morning and welcome to the Garden Show. I'm Peggy Ballister-Howells and we're here with Kusa Dogwood, who I would like to tell you helped me make a promotional video this week. He's really the star, so you might see us popping up on YouTube to talk about coming to see the show. So we'll see. Andy, of course, helped us with that, but Kusa was really the star. He's such a good boy, and he really does have ridiculous ears. So he's doing well. Everybody's doing well here. And yesterday we had so much fun. Didn't we have fun yesterday, Tommy? Yes, he's shaking his head. You'll have to believe me. We went to the Orchid Show at Rutgers, which is really at Douglas, which is now Rutgers. So, but it's at the Douglas Student Center, and it's the front part of it faces George's Road, but you really want to get to it from the back. It's kind of, the show itself is sort of ground level, or the basement. You have to go down steps on the outside to get to it, but it was lovely. And yes, I purchased some orchids. So let's go to the slides and I can show you. And the reason that I really want to show you this, kind of first thing is that it's open again today. And it's kind of fun because it's free. You do have to register your car, so you have to go to the North Jersey Orchid Society website, or you can plug in Rutgers University Orchid Show, and there's just this little tiny form that you have to fill out. It's not a big deal, but it's to register your car. It doesn't cost anything, but they want to know who's going to be on campus. So you should do that. No one actually checked us yesterday or checked us in or anything, so not sure exactly how that worked, but maybe there were Rutgers police wandering around checking license plates. I don't know, but they do want you to register. And we had a really great time. And this was just one of the many displays that they had. And it appears that most of these were entries to the competition. And you can see a lot of them have ribbons, red ribbons, blue ribbons. I think there were some gold ribbons, but they were just all really beautiful. I like this one. It was a little different, wasn't as orchidy looking as some of the more traditional ones, but I love the color. I thought it was really pretty. And now this was one person who was selling orchids. And I have to say that I found this whole display a little confusing and very hard to follow. And the plants were small and very few of what they had was in bloom. But they did have a lot of pictures. But this was not the only place you could buy. But I found this one to be just ever so slightly challenging to work with. Another display. Want to point out that there's a few plants in here that are not orchids. That orangey thing on the left is actually, I believe, a Hawaiian tea plant, Cordyline terminalis, I think, although it is an interesting variety because they're usually greener, but I think that's what that one is. But again, all really lovely and kind of amazing, the diversity in what's called orchids, especially considering that it's hard to read that list, but there are 53 native orchids in New Jersey. 53. Now, I was familiar with some of them, certainly not all of them. I am not an orchid specialist, and the world of orchids is complex enough that even if that's all you did, there's always something new to learn. But this photograph is a picture of one of the natives, and it would be kind of fun. Now, you can go on walks where people will show you where the native orchids, the wild orchids are, but you are not ever supposed to dig them up. Now, they say that they won't survive if you dig them up. that is probably the case. Chances of them surviving is very slim, but they are kind of wonderful to discover. Another really, this is what I would think of as a more traditional looking orchid. I have no idea what this one is. Some of them were more clearly labeled than others, and I don't want to go rooting around looking for labels, but I thought this one was rather spectacular. Two more that I like. That's a really red one, and that spidery looking one on the right. Well, you know, my favorite color is purple, so I thought that was really interesting. And a black orchid. I only saw one of these, and maybe not everybody likes black flowers, but I think they're kind of amazing. And this orchid was best in show. I don't know that I would have picked it for best in show. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's a variety that's particularly difficult to get to bloom. It is magnificent. But if I had to be the judge, I would have had a hard time picking what exactly was best in show. Now, this was a much more interesting, in my opinion, display of things that you could buy. I found the plants more appealing and the way they were set up more appealing. So certainly you can go. Everybody that we did business with did take credit cards too, so you don't have to bring cash. These are just gorgeous. That purple one on the right was the last one that I photographed. Again, just one more beautiful than the next. Now, this one, that's the same one on the left and the right. I thought the airiness of it and the overarching branches were pretty spectacular. I found that really magical, almost fairy-like, but even the individual flowers, which you can see on the right, were really quite stunning. Maybe not as big as some of the others, but I just love this. I was drawn to this even more than the dark purple one. I'm sorry. I love the dark purple one, but I just thought the structure of this was just so appealing, really very fairy-like. And this one is a lady slipper orchid, and this is one that I bought. And I bought it because it's relatively easy to grow, but it also has the really interesting foliage so that when it's not in bloom, it still has something to offer, which is kind of fun because orchid foliage is not necessarily all that exciting. And this one, which I bought not in bloom. And the reason I bought this one, this is not necessarily an easy one. It has a little bit more restrictions in terms of temperature. But this Dracula Felix is called a monkey face orchid. And I just recently learned about the existence of monkey face orchids, and they are not easy. They are not easy. So I didn't want to get two tricky ones. This one needs to be watered fairly often, and I didn't water it when I got it home yesterday, but I will water it, after the show. I just put them in the greenhouse yesterday and didn't do much with them, but I will go and tend it and give it a good drink and find the ideal spaces. Now, remember, orchids don't need blazing sun, which is one of the reasons they make good houseplants. My greenhouse is a little cool for this one. So I haven't decided if maybe I want to keep it in the house because it likes temperatures that are comfortable for humans. And I do let the greenhouse go down to 55 degrees, which might be, maybe I'll bump that up 3 degrees, make it 58 degrees. We'll see. I haven't made up my mind yet, but as soon as I saw monkey orchids, I decided I wanted one. And then we were there and they had monkey orchids. You can see their little faces. How cute are they? And there's many different kinds of monkey orchids. So we'll see. It's an experiment, not an inexpensive one. They ran about $35 a piece, as did the slipper orchid. But the slipper orchid, I'm not worried about. That one's kind of easy peasy. But this one is a challenge, and I'm very, very, very excited. So I will keep you posted on how that does. And then we went out to dinner, and this was the group of us that went out to dinner, and we had wonderful Chinese food, very, very authentic, with our friends. And that's Liz and Joe and Dave and my husband, Tommy, and Danny. and we had a really, really good time. The food was just amazing. That restaurant's in Edison, if those of you are interested. But the whole day was absolutely delightful. And if you have the opportunity to get to the Orchid Show today, I would highly recommend it. Okay, I think that was the last slide, right? Okay, please let me remind everybody to hit the like and subscribe buttons, would be greatly appreciated. And the phone number here is 888-399-7344. That's Pegi, P-E-G-I 7344. And would love to hear from you. Things are definitely starting to pick up, and some of it's picking up. Some things are happening because the weather's been unseasonably warm. Definitely, that's why some things are happening. But other things are happening just because it's January and spring is around the corner. Catalogs are arriving daily, and things in the greenhouse are remember, things in the greenhouse show signs of spring before the plants outside because it's warmer in the greenhouse, and they are tuned into the longer days. And so things start to show up in the greenhouse before they start to show up outside. So with that in mind, well, let me give the phone number again, because I'd really like to hear from somebody. I particularly want to hear from Annemarie, who is home, and I haven't had a chance to chat with her yet. So I hope maybe she's listening and will give us a call. The number again, 888-399-7344. And we have lots of time to answer your questions. It's only 10:11. We'll be here till 11 o'clock to answer questions, and can run over if we get a bunch of calls at the end. So let's go to, how about aloes? We'll do aloes. I love aloes. Most people are familiar with the classic aloe vera, but there are so many other kinds of aloes. And this one is commonly called the hedgehog aloe, and on close inspection, you can see why. And I'm very excited because this one's about to bloom. And I took these pictures at the beginning of the week so that I would have time to work on my slides, of course. But I went out yesterday because I was hoping to snap a quick shot of it blooming or some progress in the world of blooming, and nothing. It just looks exactly the same. Not sure why, but I was kind of excited about this one because of Andy of South River, who is helping us with marketing and promotion. His company, HIP, the H stands for Hedgehog. So I really wanted him to see this. And if it ever divides or sends up some pups, I will gladly pot one up for him. Oh, we have a phone call? Who's calling in? Annemarie. Oh, yay. All right. Well, let's go to the phones and say good morning to Annemarie. Are you with us, Annemarie? Yes, Annemarie. Hello. Good morning. I can't. Can't hear him in my headphones. You're good. We're good now, Annemarie.
Good morning, Peggy.
There you are. Welcome home.
Hey, how are
you? You know, Santa left you something.
It's good to be home, but it's good to know that somebody misses you when you're not here.
Well,
so that's
true.
A welcome feeling. Thank you.
Santa left.
We're home.
Something.
We had a great trip. Ireland is rainy, wet, and cold, and beautiful, but rainy, wet, and cold. And we had a good time. But nothing's changing here except my pussy willows are out in full flare since I'm home. So they were starting before we left, and I guess there was enough warmth for them to burst out. But the ones that I cut, I put in water to see if I could get them to they did bloom in here, if you will, but they also rooted themselves. So now I've got 4 sticks with roots.
Okay, Annemarie, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Because at first I didn't think you could hear me. But I've been trying to tell you that Santa left you something under the tree, and now the tree is gone, and the presents look so lonely, and just seems.
Okay. Well, it has been one crazy week since we're home, between doctor appointments, whatever, and you have been to my home at Christmas, so I am in mass dedecoration mode. So
I totally understand.
We've just had a lot of craziness going on this week. So hopefully I will get most of this cleared by maybe tomorrow, and maybe have a breath later in the week.
And how's Uncle Art?
It's good. He saw the doctor, and the doctor is very pleased with him, and he thinks he's Superman. Climbs up ladders and
but
shows
that's
off.
only because he is.
Ah, well, there, lucky guy that both of us know that.
So I've been doing a lot of stuff in the greenhouse, and I potted up all those Streptocarpella cuttings that you gave me. They all rooted, and I've got about 5 or 6 little pots of them, which is good. They're looking good. They haven't gotten any mealies yet, which they just fail. They don't, very difficult to control mealies on there. So I'm hoping that I will have enough for my planters in the spring. So I wanted to let you know they were all doing quite well. So thank you for that. And
good, because I did lose a few just in general, but when I came home, one is blooming a flower.
Oh, okay. Well, that's heading in the right direction.
So that was fun.
Yes. So I'm glad
I have to tell you that I don't know what's going to do with the poinsettias at church. They are magnificent this year. One we removed within days, and everybody else is standing up, beautiful, tall, not losing leaves or curling up or anything wicked. So we're enjoying them.
Well, my orange one is still looking fabulous. The white one you gave me last year, I abandoned it when I was not feeling so well, and it's still alive, but it's nothing spectacular. So I may cut it back and try again for next year.
Yeah, no, mine. I did have the one white one come through with some white petals. The red one did nothing, and the other white one gave up the ghost.
All right, my dear. I'm so glad that you called.
Okay, well, it's good to hear your voice. We're watching you on the screen, and I'm packing up my many Christmas salt and peppers right now.
All right. Well, you get that job done so you have time to do other things. I'm glad you're home safe.
Yeah, then we're going to the orchid show.
Yes, definitely go to the orchid show. It was definitely a worthwhile
Yeah, we had heard
thing.
it yesterday on News 12, and the woman there should have actually said that you needed this this car registration. They never mentioned that. And it's not on what I looked at on the website or on looking it up on Google-wise. It didn't say anything about that, just an address.
Well, if you go to their website I had no problem finding it online. So
the website.
I think, And again, we did register and we didn't see anybody checking. So I don't know what that means.
Okay.
All right. Well, give Uncle Art a hug.
If they didn't have the number listed, then they were looking for you.
Yeah, maybe that very well may have been the case. But all right. Well, I'm glad you're home safe. Good to hear your voice.
Okay, take care. We'll talk to you during the week.
Okay, can't wait. Thanks. Bye-bye now.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, back to those aloes. All right, next. All right. This one, I really want to show you this because the one on the left is called Snow Magic. I could only find the variety name. I couldn't find a species name. And the one on the right is a Hawarthia. And I'm going to tell you that the world of scientific naming of these plants is so screwed up because many of the aloes were listed with alternative names that were Hawarthias. And so obviously the two groups overlap and have similarities. But in many cases, although not all the cases, most of the aloes had little tiny spines along the edges of the foliage, and the Hawarthias did not. I think that it's possible that I have come across some varieties of aloes that do not have little spines along the edges, but I've never seen anything that's classified as a Hawarthia having little spines along the edges. But really, probably half the plants I came across had that when I was looking for aloes had names both aloe and Hawarthia. So the groups of plants are very confused. This is as close as I could get to making a differentiation, but clearly there are similarities. So, all right, this is your classic aloe vera. This is the one that people use to cut a little branch off or a leaf off and squeeze it out for burns and that kind of thing. It has other medicinal properties, and there are some ways that it can be taken internally. Not that I ever recommend it, but you can buy it. It can also have bad side effects, but it is considered, very valuable in the world of herbal medicine. But on the other hand, where it's native, it's considered to be, where it grows in the wild, it can be considered aggressive and even invasive in some places. So, which makes perfect sense to me, because if you have a pot of these, you can see this pot is very crowded, and it spreads and it grows along the ground and it can root and all of that. But that is the classic. Now, the one on the right is also fairly common, propagates easily, is an attractive plant. It's called Aloe ciliaris. And of course, I have all of these are in the greenhouse. The one on the left looks similar to some of the other ones. And if you look really closely, you can see it has teeny tiny spines along the edges of the leaves. And the one on the right, Aloe maculata, that has really mean spines along the edges of the leaf. Now, this example on the right, I don't know that it's the best example. It's not fast growing. Some of the others, like the aloe vera, very fast growing. This one is not fast growing, or nowhere near as fast as the aloe vera. I think it gets more spherical as it gets bigger, more like the one on the left, more of a spiral. This one seems to be growing almost in, 2 dimensions instead of 3, but it's still interesting. And I like the different patterns on the foliage. And I like that the points of the spines are a little bit red, makes it a little bit more interesting. And this one is Aloe Striatula, I think is how you say that. This one propagates really easily. Stripe sheath, narrow leafed aloe. They couldn't come up with something a little simpler for a common name. But again, you can see the spines. These are 2 of my favorites. The one on the left is called zebra aloe, and the one on the right is called snowstorm. And the snowstorm is just finishing up blooming, that little spike coming out of the center. I've propagated snowstorm many times. You can see I could take some pups off of this one. I have to say, snowstorm is really one of my favorites. I love that one. And then the zebra aloe, this is the only one of those I've ever seen. This one is really interesting, but I also think it was misnamed. You can see the tag says Aloe claviflora. And when I looked up Aloe claviflora to see if I could find a common name for it, it didn't look anything like this plant. Nothing. So I started hunting around and I found this Aloe Marlothii, and I think that's what it is. Again, I bought it and it had a name, and that wasn't that name. And I tried to see if they were both the same thing, and they weren't. And the Aloe claviflora looked completely different. There were some similarities, but definitely not the same plant. So I don't know which is right and which is wrong, but I love the red polka dots. And I love the really red spines along the edge of the foliage. 2 more interesting aloes. Again, you can see the spines. The one on the right, the Aloe aristata, can easily be divided. I could get lots out of that. I do have a couple of those, so I'm not in any rush to propagate that one. The one on the left, just, kind of interesting. And this one is the Walmsley's blue, which is really pretty. It looks more like the aloe vera than some of the other ones, but it has a definite blue color to it. I really like this one. I like the coloring. It's not speckled. The spines, it's all one color, but it is definitely bluish, and I like that. We're going to divide that one in another slide series in a minute or 2. Okay, back to me. So again, let me give the phone number. It's 888-399-7344. And I did pick up a couple of orchids. I showed them in the orchid slideshow. I will take pictures of them in the greenhouse. I'm trying to figure out exactly the best place to put them. Now, the greenhouse, you can see the greenhouse, that's the greenhouse back there. And the greenhouse faces south. And the greenhouse was custom built by my very, very dear friend, Ed, who rebuilt Blooming Acres when it burned and who gutted Tiny Farm and did all the renovations here for us. Turns out Ed grew up in the greenhouse business. His parents were in the greenhouse business, and so he knew how greenhouses worked. And then I knew what I wanted in terms of functionality for me, as well as, I knew certain elements that had to be included to make it a truly functional greenhouse. And together we came up with my greenhouse, which I personally think is awesome. And we added it to what had once been a screened-in porch. And so the screened-in porch area doesn't get a tremendous amount of sun, although it's bright all day long. And that's where the potting bench is and the sink is. And where I keep all my gardening reference books. And there's a chase lounge so I can sit there and read. And sometimes I fall asleep and the animals pile on top of me. And it's just a wonderful place to hang out. And that's where I do all my propagating and potting up and insect control and all of that. So it's a great workspace. And I bring this up because orchids don't need a tremendous amount of sun. Orchids in general are epiphytes, not all of them. Some of them, come up from the ground, but a lot of them, of the tropical ones, are epiphytes, and they grow on other plants, on trees, on the trunks of trees, underneath the foliage. So they don't get a lot of bright light. They don't need a lot of direct sun. And so it seems in the greenhouse, I have a couple of orchids now, that the perfect place to put them is on the edge of what was the screened-in porch, which is also where the greenhouse joins the screened-in porch area. And so it gets a little bit of direct sun, maybe a little bit more direct sun in the winter when the sun is lower in the sky. But it's bright all the time, and doesn't get, when the sun is higher, doesn't necessarily get a lot of direct sun in the summer, but maybe a little bit. So I think that that's the perfect place. I'm going to have to do a little rearranging because the greenhouse is packed to bursting. There's so much stuff in the greenhouse. So as a result, I'm going to do a little rearranging, and I'm going to finish, coming up with where I want them and take pictures. And of course, these are very special plants. So, and I want to share with you my new mug. Plant Lady was a gift from Danny from Metuchen. And I was really thinking I needed something to drink while I'm on the air, because sometimes my voice gets a little hoarse by the end. So this will be my YouTube mug. How do you like that? So, all right. So what's anybody else calling in? We have very few callers today. 888-399-7344. If you've been to the Orchid Show, let me know if you have had anything that you would like to share or what you thought of it, and can encourage other people to go. Since we just did the aloes, let's go to the Walmsley's blue slideshow, please. Okay, this is the Walmsley blue, which I showed you with the other ones. And it was really kind of crowded in the pot. And it was starting to flop over on the sides and break off. So I wanted to make it a little bit more compact. And so in this case, I used my hori and just divided it down the middle. Once I was able to get my fingers in the center, from that point on, I just pulled it apart rather than cutting, and divided it into several different pieces. And, some of the ones that just broke off had roots of their own. So I was able to pot up some smaller ones, which are great. I gave away one already. I made a bunch of them. So I already gave away one because they already had some roots. They rooted, they did quite well very quickly. And some of them didn't have roots. But, they root, again, because they're an aloe, they root pretty easily. So we tried a few of the nicer branches that fell off that didn't have roots. Once again, using my favorite tool. I love that little thing. It's great for making holes and also for compacting soil. And that's it, Walmsley's blue. And it's been around a long time. And I know that because I was looking up some of the other ones in my Exotica, which is a huge, massive book of all black and white photographs. And it's a fabulous book. Thousands, literally thousands of images of plants in there. And so I was in the index, but that book is I've had that book for probably close to 40 years, and it was old then. Not necessarily my copy of it, but it had been out for a while. Mr. Roars, who was Julius Roars, who was the author, I don't even know author's the right word, person who compiled all the information, all the pictures, traveled around the world taking pictures and collecting plant material. And his greenhouse was originally in North Jersey, and it's now on Route 33 in Wall. Is that Wall? Maybe Howell. I've been there. It's not as dramatic as it was when I went years ago, but point is that it's been around a long time, and Walmsley's blue is listed. That specific variety is listed in that book. So it's been around probably at least 75 years. So even though aloes have come under tremendous, what would be the popularity, this one is not one of the new ones. Some of the other ones I've never seen before, but Walmsley's blue's been around a long time. And this was how many I was able to get out of, a big one, a medium one, 2 small ones, and 1 very hopeful one. So I did put name tags in all of them, and I already gave 1 away as a gift, but they're doing very well. And it's one of the more fun ones, I think. Okay, and there it is, back in its place where the big one originated, and on that wonderful plant stand that I found. And again, it's an aloe. It doesn't need blazing sun all day, but it definitely needs, some bright light, and a little bit of direct sun would be good. But there it is among all its friends. Okay, can I give the phone number again? It's 888-399-7344. And hoping to hear from some of my good friends and maybe some new people. And we're also going to ask you again to like and subscribe. And if you have any issues or problems that you would like to send me some slides of, you can do that via my website, which is gardenwithpeggy.com. And that way I can put the slides together as a slideshow, the images that you send as a slideshow, and we can talk about them on the air when you call next time. So it's also, a lot of things are about to happen. I need to start getting ready for spring. There's a few plants. I have some enormous geraniums that I need to take cuttings of, which I will do pretty soon. But I want to show you this little video that I think you'll get a kick out of. So excited about these. I searched and can't hear it. I am so excited about these. I searched and searched, and I found these, and I'm hoping they're going to be strong enough to hold up the plants, but they spin. So we're going to install them on this gigantic geranium here, which is going to get pruned soon and propagated. I've had it for 4 years, and we hang it on the front porch in the summertime. But when I'm in the greenhouse trying to take care of it and get to the back side when I'm trying to clean it up is almost impossible. It just doesn't spin. So let's try this. Okay, it's a little heavy. All right, so we're going to put this up here, and then this on there. And now I can spin it around. Will make getting these little things so much easier. I think that's a success. So I found those hooks. I did a lot of searching, and I found them online. I think at Amazon. I think it was at Amazon. And supposedly they can hold up to 20 pounds. So I think that they'll be okay. I will keep a close eye on it. Before I install all of them, I'll keep an eye on this one for a little bit. But I have 4 of those geraniums that I use over and over again. I also have 2 begonias that I overwinter that I have similar problem with. So I may end up ordering more because they only came 4 in a pack. But I wanted to try them first. But I think that they were very useful. I saw a lot of other kinds of spinning hooks. Some of them had like a loop on the end as opposed to a hook that was closed. Wasn't sure that it would fit either on the hook that's there or would be able to accept the handle from the hanging baskets. So other kinds of hanging baskets have the skinny metal ones and will give you more flexibility. Those plastic hooks are pretty big and they, so you need to judge accordingly. But I think, they weren't very expensive and I think that they were a simple problem solver. So what do you think? Do you have any opinion? I'd like to hear about that. If you have a different solution or a different kind of hook that you think works, that would be good. All right. So what else do we have here? Yeah, we've got this week at Tiny Farm. All right. This is alfalfa, known as Alfie. And he's the cutest thing. He got neutered this week, poor thing. So he's in the cone of shame until Friday of this week. So he's not real happy, but it doesn't really seem to slow him down. And he has bonked me in the head with that thing more times than I could count. And so he's doing pretty well. A few weeks ago, I showed you this plant, which is called a pregnant onion, and the botanical name is Ornithogulum caudatum. And it gets little babies under the oniony skin at the base, and is kind of a fun plant. But I really wanted to show it to you because it flowers, and when it flowers, it's very dramatic. And right now, it's got 4 flower stalks. And I had shown you that when I introduced the plant to you the first time, but it's now beginning to open and it's gotten all the way up to the ceiling of the greenhouse. And it's just starting to open now, but it's going to continue to open and have flowers on it probably for the next up to 2 months. It just gets really, really, really long and continues to make flowers for a really long time. So that makes it kind of a fun plant. Okay, can we put these slides on hold? And who do we have? Oh, all right, let's have a little chat with Nancy, who's Nancy from Somerset. Hey, Nancy, how you doing?
Yeah, Peg, hi, I'm sorry. I'm enjoying your show. I'm listening to you from the beach here in Puerto Rico.
Oh my goodness.
Lots of plant material here. I started a new album of flowers of Puerto Rico. But yeah, so I just first of all, it was a nice way that the phone was answered. And I can't hear you, but I just wanted to say hi, and I'll be back in New Jersey to listen to you closer to home.
Wait, you can't hear me? Oh, because
no,
you're at the
and
beach.
It's not your fault.
Oh, okay, okay.
Like I said,
good to know. Okay,
yeah,
well,
it's the wind.
Okay,
and everything.
I do have a question. Maybe you can hear it after. Where are you?
I'm in Puerto Rico. Remember
I know, but where in Puerto Rico are you?
I'm in Isla Verde, which is a suburb of Old San Juan.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear. There is a place in Old San Juan. If it's still there, I don't know if it's.
Oh, I've been there. I remember when. Yes, I after you went, the place that has the sculpture.
Yes.
And you did the pruning.
Yes.
Yes. Well, also they have a lovely farmers market here in Old San Juan on Saturday, and I visit that every Saturday. So,
well, you have a wonderful time, and that
I will. It's 85 degrees here.
oh, you poor thing. Okay. Well, have a great time. Thanks for checking in. Go back to that place with all the statuary. It really was pretty magnificent. And the fort is pretty cool too. So if you have a chance to go and get a tour of that fort, because
all you need is a national park pass to get in there.
Oh,
I'm
really?
going into the mountains tomorrow, which will be an adventure for me because I've never been to I've been through the mountains, but I'm visiting a farm in the mountains tomorrow.
All right. Well, you have a great time. Thanks for checking in, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. We should go back to Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was fun. There is a fort that was there to protect San Juan, an old San Juan. And the fort was so cool because the design of the fort itself actually helped when they were protecting themselves from invaders. And in fact, there was at least one time when the design of the fort, they lost, and the invaders had taken over the fort. And they had this amazing system of collecting water, and everything was slightly sloped. And so the water would run and they would be able to collect water and have fresh rainwater. But because the surfaces of the fort were actually a place where the water would be collected from, they never allowed horses to come up into the fort. The horses were kept elsewhere because they didn't want the horses pooping on the places where the water was collected. And so they lost, and the conquerors took over, and they didn't know. So they brought the horses up, and the horses pooped, and everybody got dysentery, and they all left, and they got it back. I thought that was pretty cool. There were also some other interesting aspects of that fort, that the path of getting up to the fort was designed in such a way that if you looked down, you could see who was coming up. But if you looked up, you couldn't see who was up there. So it allowed the people who were defending to see who was coming up and get them before they got up to the top to take over. So the design was really pretty amazing. And there, I also learned, okay, this may sound a little crude, but it's not. The expression "freeze the balls off a brass monkey" has got nothing to do with what it sounds like it has something to do with, and that a brass monkey was something that they used to make a pyramid of cannonballs, and they would stack them on this, right in the middle near where the cannons were, and they would stack. But when it got really cold, and they called it a brass monkey, I guess maybe there was a form around it to keep the cannonballs on the base, and then it was a brass form, and then they would stack the cannonballs and make a pyramid inside it. Well, if it got really cold, the cannonballs would roll off. I guess maybe they shrunk, or it changed the dynamics of how they stacked in some way. And if it got really, really cold, then the cannonballs would roll off. And so that's where the expression really originated from. Why I retained that all this time, I have no idea, but it is pretty funny. So if you happen to go to Puerto Rico, you definitely want to go to that fort, because there's all kinds of cool stuff going on there, in addition to the botanical gardens and the waterfalls and the beautiful plant material and the beaches and the food and the history. But the fort was pretty cool. Okay, so can we go back to, that was a great aside, but can we go back to, where were we? Oh yeah. So these are the flowers on the pregnant onion. So, and they will bloom for months. So next. All right, this is a late entry into the world of Christmas cactuses. This one just started blooming now. if you're going to ask me why this one was so delayed, I have no idea. They're all triggered by change in day length and change in temperature. So it could be that this one was just the variety of it. I know it was looking kind of limp. Maybe it had gotten too dry. It was not overwatered. And then I moved it to what I thought was, I think it was in too sunny a location. And so I moved it back a little bit. And so I think maybe it wasn't getting too much light anymore, and it kind of perked up and got brighter and more turgid. And so maybe it had something to do with that, but it's blooming now. Oh, I wanted to show you this. I meant to show you this last week, but I didn't get to it. I somehow it slipped my mind to show you this. But this is a wreath that I made out of pine cones. And how many years have we had this? Like 4, maybe 5? Yeah, we've had it a long time, and it's held up amazingly well. And of course, they're silk flowers, and you see little tufts of red. Those are little red cardinal birds, but super easy to make. You just go to any of the craft store and you buy a wreath ring, and you collect your different kinds of pine cones, and you just shove them in there. Not hard at all. And again, we've had this one for 4 or 5 years, and easy peasy to make, and lasts a long time. I do store it in one of those wreath boxes that are, really very protective of it, but it's lasted, and it makes me happy every time I see it. And so, get a few silk flowers, and, anything else that you want to add, you could get, put ornaments on it, the round balls, whatever. But I did make this out of mostly natural materials, and was a fun, easy project. And I wanted to share that with you. All right, this is one of those things where I was like, okay, stop the car. I saw this tree, and it was in Asbury Park, and I was like, what is that? And not necessarily easy to identify, kind of a little bit scary looking in the picture on the left, definitely, kind of odd shape. The tree was not a great specimen. It was slightly leaning. It had some dead wood in it, but it had all these pods, and it didn't really look all that familiar to me in this current state, but it kind of tickled something in the back of my brain. So I stopped the car, got out, took a bunch of pictures. And I think those pods are these, at a dried state. And I love these pods. I think they're really interesting. And sorry for the noise in the background. The puppies are getting rather excited. We need the next slide, please. And these are the flowers from the Sephora japonica. And it also is another one of those things where they've changed the name on it, but I've known it as Sephora japonica forever. So I'm going to stick with that. But and these, one of the interesting things about this is that it blooms in like August, or like mid to late August, maybe even early September, and then the pods come on. So are there more pictures here? Okay, so we'll get to the rest of the pictures here in just a minute, but we're going to go to the phones and say good morning to Eileen from Milltown. Eileen, is this my friend Eileen?
Hi, how are you?
Yes, I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. I'm seeing my daffodils coming up every day, which is nice.
I think we're going to have an early spring.
Yeah, I think so too.
So did you get to the orchid show?
Yes. I've gone to this for a few years now, and last year was Mary's first time there, and we had a wonderful time. It was beautiful, so many beautiful things there. But I also want to let people know that there's going to be a sign at the table when you walk in that tells you to go over to the greenhouses, and the students are selling plants.
I didn't see that sign.
I missed it. Mary saw it.
Oh, okay. Okay. What kind of plants were the students
so
selling?
We went over there, and they had just a very, just a whole lot of different things there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it.
yeah, a lot of people do miss it. And then I said, you know what? Let me at least get Amory in there. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I'm
it's nice. They're very, very nicely priced too, and so it's really neat. It was really neat. And
well, now I'm
I can't
bummed,
tell you the
Eileen.
names of the stuff. Pardon me?
Now I'm bummed. I didn't see that. I bet you they had cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I found out that way too.
Okay.
First year, I didn't notice it.
Well, they clearly
So,
need better signage then. And it was
Yeah,
in
yeah.
which greenhouse was it in? Do you know? I mean, how?
It was the one that's very close to where the show was.
So a different building? You had to leave and go to a different building?
Yeah, yeah. We drove over because
Okay.
it's cold.
Yes.
We also had my little 4-year-old great niece with me too, who she just loved everything.
I bet I know exactly where it was. That's probably the same greenhouse where I did my master's research. Because that would be the
So
closest
I
one.
didn't know that the first year either. So every year I always remember to do that. And I also did not remember this part, that you need to use cash there only.
Okay. All right. Well, that is all incredibly useful information. And I'm totally bummed
There
that
you
I didn't
go.
get to go over there. I would have, I'm always looking for the oddball things. And the fact that they were priced at a reasonable price. Let's face it, orchids are not cheap. They are
No, but
not.
I have to say they were cheaper than last year's.
Really?
Because most of the stuff was around 25, and last year there was a lot of stuff higher than that. So,
well, the two I got were 35 each, and I was okay with that. So I was okay. I promised myself I would only buy two, and that's what I did. Right?
yeah,
I stuck to it.
I did that. I said that. I said two, but I ended up with three because my niece really wanted it.
But if I had known about the other place, they might have had some cool other kinds of plants. And I'm always looking for the oddball plants. So I might have to go back. Jeez. Okay. Next year. Okay. So, but now I know next year we will definitely, check it out. And I bet my friend Danny, who went with us.
And also here could be also another thing is we went on Friday, which was the first day. And so maybe they were out of the plants by then. You don't know. So
maybe, but I mean,
Friday.
it's a 3-day event and we were there yesterday in the middle of the day. If they were out of plants already, then that would have been poor planning. And I doubt that. So I think I just missed it, Eileen. I think I just missed it. But next year. So now I know. So forewarned is forearmed. So next year we will definitely hit that up. But so thank you so much for letting us know. And maybe somebody
pleasure.
Maybe somebody will go today and tell them they need better signage.
And tell us about next week.
Yeah. And then, so we'll need a report on that. So thanks for letting us know. Everything good with you?
Yes.
When is Mike's opening?
I don't know.
Well, I'm looking forward to that too.
We're not have it open.
We were talking about maybe doing a couple of events over there, which I think would be great fun. So I will keep you posted on that.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that's
I would help on that.
That would be great. It would be more like a party than anything else. And Mike is that's Mike's Country Farm Market. Is that the exact name? And Deli.
No, it's just Mike's Country Market.
Mike's Country Market. And Deli.
I don't think it has farm on it.
Maybe not
a farm.
But it's on Riva Avenue on the edge of East Brunswick and Milltown. And I've been there many times. I've met Eileen there and I've met Anne-Marie there and Andy there. And I go with Jordan and I met Nancy there and we always have fun and he's always got the coolest plants. And so we were talking about maybe doing something. So if you go over that way, remind Mike, if we're going to do something, we need to get it on the calendar now. So we're going to have to, now that you got me, see all the things you've got me thinking about. This is a very important phone call.
That's my job, to be a catalyst.
Okay. Well, you have accomplished it. So I will definitely give Mike a call this week and see if he wants to get something on the calendar, because that would be fun. All right. Everything else good?
Okay. Yes.
All right. It was a
Very
pleasure.
good.
Thanks so much for all that info. That was really good. We will talk soon, I hope.
Thank you. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Bye-bye
Okay.
now.
Bye-bye.
All right. So we have 6 minutes left. So if anybody wants to call, they have to call pretty quick. And we're going to finish up with the slides. Again, this is the Sephora japonica, which has several interesting things. It has the flowers in August. It has the weird green pods in the fall. And if that tree is in fact the Sephora japonica, which I think it was, it has some kind of weird winter interest as well. All right, I wanted to show you this because this is Susan. This is my Magnolia Susan. And this is a dwarf magnolia in the girl series. There's several others. There's Judith and Anna and Betty, and I got Susan. And they're all, there's a whole bunch of them, and they were all released about the same time, and they're all dwarf, and they're all really beautiful, and they all bloom slightly later than many of the other magnolias. And one of the problems with magnolias is the spring blooming magnolias, when they bloom, if there's a late frost, they get zapped, and then they look really, really ugly. If you've ever seen a magnolia covered in brown flowers, it's really unsightly and almost disturbing. Such a loss of beauty. And so these varieties all bloom a little bit later, but they are, look at the buds. And this picture was taken at the beginning of the week, or maybe a little bit, maybe at the end of last week. I'm not sure exactly, pretty recently, but I mean, they are definitely thinking it's time to get started. And with the cold weather we're having now, I'm a little concerned. And this is a Hawarthia. And this is the only one of this kind I've ever seen. Now, I don't have a variety name, but you can see in the picture on the far right that that's a flower stalk. And you can see on the picture on the far left that that's the flower stalk as it's attached to the plant. It was impossible to get a picture of the whole thing because it's about 3 to 4 feet long. And it blooms again a long time. And in the middle picture, you can see that the flower stalk of the one that's blooming is still green and quite viable. So it's not necessarily done yet. It hasn't started to turn brown at all. And it's making a new one. So I think this plant knows the days are getting longer and it's spring because it's very happy making flowers. I love this one too. I just love it. All right. This is a beefsteak begonia. And Danny, my friend who went to the Orchid Show yesterday and who picked out that absolutely fabulous Chinese restaurant that we went to, which had very authentic Chinese food. It was real. Oh, the food was so good. Had given me this plant a long time ago, and I have propagated it and given it away. And she had brought some that she'd propagated to several of the plant exchanges. And it's called Beefsteak Begonia. And in researching it, I think it's Begonia erythrophila. And again, that looks like a variety name. I couldn't find it written up any other way, but it's definitely the common name is beefsteak begonia with those very round leaves. And I have started these from just a single leaf in the ground. It doesn't have to have stem. The leaves root pretty easily. And it's probably time for me to do something with it because it's growing way over the sides of the pot, but it's so beautiful. And look, it's got 3 flower stalks on it, and the flowers haven't really opened yet. Those are still sort of bud-like, but you can see the picture on the right that they are definitely about to pop. So I'm kind of excited about that. All right, this is a desert rose. I've been waiting for these to open for a couple of weeks now, and they're going so slow, but they are, when I will try to get a picture of it, it should be fully open in time for next week. But these desert roses are just so, so beautiful. And they grow more cactus-like than foliage plant-like, but they are spectacular, and they're also usually very expensive. And this particular one, I was at the Habitat for Humanity restore plant store a couple of years ago in Freehold. And at the end of the year, and I've noticed this for several years in a row now, somebody that is in the plant business donates a whole bunch of plants at the end of the season, and they sell them very inexpensively. And among all the dying annuals that were out there were a few oddballs, including this desert rose. So it was a bargain for me. And usually they're like 40 or 50 bucks. And so I picked this up, and it has bloomed for me every year since then, and is really quite beautiful. So if you have the opportunity to come across one, or if you want to give a plant lover a really special gift, this would be it. Is that my last slide? Okay, let's go next, please. Oh, this little cactus, this poor little cactus has just suffered. It's very small and it needs really good light. So it is up on basically a candle holder so that it's up above all the other foliage. So it gets enough sun directly on it. But stupid me, I've bumped it at least 2 or 3 times and knocked it apart and knocked all the little new growth off. You can see there's one little new one emerging, but in spite of that, it's making a flower. So you got to love it. It's really trying. Oh, and that's Juniper. I've been trying to get her to come up onto my lap so that I could show you her at the intro of the show, but she doesn't seem, she was in my lap all the time, but not when I want her to be. But she's we don't know what she is. We were told she was half standard poodle, half shepherd mix, but we don't really know. She looks sort of like an Irish wolfhound a little bit, but we do have 3 doggy DNA tests, and we should figure that out in the next week or so and send them in, and then we'll know. But she's got a face. She's a good girl. Okay, I think that was the end of that, and it's 11:01. So that was perfect. So I hope everybody has a great week. And weather's supposed to be crazy. We were told possibly as much as 8 inches of snow on Tuesday. I could do without that. So we'll see what happens, but plenty going on in the greenhouse. And let me know if you see the trailer that is out that will be aired, if that crosses your path. I would love to get some feedback on that. And remember that we'll be here next week, same time, same place. Until then, have a good one.